Hi everyone. Thanks a lot for joining today. Yash Dahankar, co-founder and CEO of Acknowledger here, and we have a very special guest here today, Shahzad from Shardeum team, and my co-founder Abhishek is also here. Hi Abhishek and Shahzad.
Hi.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here with you all and to talk about our project and wonderful to see what the work you've been doing so far.
Yes, thanks a lot, Shahzad, for giving us your valuable time and coming on Acknowledger podcast. So we have been doing this podcast since the first of Jan this year. We have been doing consistently every year. So far, it has been 6 months now, and it started as Twitter Spaces, and then we evolved it to the podcast because we realized that we can have it can be more interactive. And now let's see where it goes. But for this, we have taken a pledge to do this for the whole entire year, to interact with the community directly and answer the questions directly. And this goes live on three platforms: Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube parallelly. And then even the best part of this whole entire session, we share it on multiple platforms in the form of short videos as well. So this has been our journey so far, and thanks a lot. And today we have really special guest, Shahzad from Shardeum team. And I'm really curious and keen to know what's happening with Shardeum, what are the future plans, and what kind of project Shardeum is planning to integrate. So I have so many questions. So let's start with the first one. Shahzad, can you please introduce yourself and also Shardeum for our community?
Sure. So I basically manage operations and partnerships within Shardium. And I've been with the project since its day of inception, so rather even prior to inception. So I was working with a project called Shardus, which is the underlying layer of Shardium, and that's the protocol layer on which Shardium is being built. And I started my journey on this project since 2020, and it's been a very, very interesting, eventful, and a learning experience for me, as well as meeting wonderful people as we come across our journey, not only from the US component where I'm based out of, but even globally. So that's been me so far. Shardium is basically an EVM-based layer one blockchain, which uses dynamic state sharding to increase the transactions per second. Uh, this is pretty unique in its space because we are able to show a growth of the transactions per second with the addition of every node onto the network. Historically, what was happening is whenever a node adds onto a network for a certain point of time, you see the growth, and then after that, you start seeing a decline in the transactions per second. But Shardium, with its unique process of using sharding as the main process on which the network relies on, is able to demonstrate that we are almost infinitely scalable. We haven't seen the bottom out yet. I mean, obviously, everything has a bottom, but we haven't seen that yet. So that's what we're trying to build.
Great. Yes, I think really interesting. We have been talking about sharding for a long time, and there's actually an L1 who has implemented and going to do really interesting way of scaling the blockchain. And what is that Shahzad, unique about Shardium that is kind of a USP compared to other L1 and L2s out there in the market. So what makes Shardium special? Yeah.
So, in terms of what Shardium is trying to achieve is when you look at the other layer ones, and most of these are now being built, as a replacement or as an amalgamation of projects who want to, give a solution to Ethereum. The issue or the major problem we are trying to resolve is Ethereum is unable to scale beyond a certain point, and the average transactions per second on Ethereum offers, or the maximum transactions, is about 15. Other projects also offer, a varied of options out there, but most of them try and cover the real number by adding gossip, adding protocol transaction, and adding transaction between the nodes as part of the actual transaction count. Whereas with us, we look at the user-based transaction, which are probably higher than most of the networks put together, so to say. Uh, the unique process, comes about because of what we do within Shardium. So each validator, when it is added to the network, we're able to demonstrate the growth. As well as, there are certain features within inherent to Shardium, Shardeum, which is atomic composability across shards, which gives the ability of the node to grow faster. We also have a very unique architecture, which is now in the process of being patented, and we will make it open source once that process is done. But it's a very unique algorithm which has been written, and that makes us very, very special. Uh, which is why we're able to produce the highest throughput of any other layer one in the market space.
That's great. I have one question, because this is for the audience, I want to go. What is atomic composability? I think you talked about it. So can you please, for the audience, can you tell us more about it? Yeah. What
Sure.
exactly it is?
What basically happens is, that in order to communicate between the shards, we basically are able to do that in a fraction of a second. And I really won't delve a lot into that because of the pattern process, but we are able to show the speed grow exponentially by using that mechanism. And that, is very, very unique to Shardeum. Also, that helps us by achieving finality, which is extremely fast. When we get to the point where the transaction is processed, the finality becomes extremely quick. So ideally, if you were to look at the other chains, what you see in the likes of an Ethereum is when you click the button, you wait for a certain number of time, a certain seconds, it might go into minutes, and then you see the finality. With us, it's almost instantaneous. It might run into 15, 20 seconds. So that's what we are able to achieve. That's one. Second, because of this ability of the transaction growth, we are able to charge a fixed fee. So we've taken bidding out of the equation. And that's been, something which is, again, very unique to us, that we have a fixed fee. And that becomes extremely important and critical where the US dollar is expensive. So in a market such as India, in a market such as, APAC, in a market such as Africa, South America, and even USA for that matter, the cost per transaction is predefined regardless of the value and volume. And we are able to offer that to our users and the developers in the space.
Yes, you want to add? You want to add anything, Shazad? Yeah.
No.
Okay, yeah. Okay, got it. I have another question.
Sure.
You talked about developers. Okay, so now from coming from the developers, so what programming language, what are the tools available? Say if there are a lot of developers in our community as well, and they want to learn how to become part of the Shardium ecosystem. So can you tell us more about like what kind of language they have to learn and what is the process to onboard if they are building? So what Shardium offers to the developer community as well?
Sure. So our primary goal and focus to launch the product has been in India. So, most of the people who are associated with the project are of Indian origin. However, we are not an Indian chain, so to say, we are a global chain. So in order to, acquire the first 100 million users, we were looking at the Indian market. Indian market is extremely important. Typically, I was born in India, and people speak three languages there. So I'm told that the first thing is English, the second thing is the mother tongue, and the third could be a combination of Java or any of the other programming languages which are predominant,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
given that particular market space, it becomes extremely important for us to be there. So anybody who's built for any of the EVM chains, and has worked on any of the layer 3 programming languages can build on Shardeum. So that makes it very, very easy. For projects who are already in development or already launched on other EVM platforms, this is a click. It's literally a plug and play for them to come on to Shardeum and be able to run that. Other than that, if people who are building, we'd be more than happy to guide them. We'd be more than happy to, give them direction in order to, get the project started and start building on Shardeum.
Awesome. So, and I think it's is what language you have to use to build on top of Shardium?
So ideally, it's something like a Viper or any of the other languages which are being built on an EVM, can be utilized on that. So Solidity is primarily the language which is being used to build on any EVM, and any person who has the ability to program in Solidity, can build on Shardeum.
Okay, that's amazing. I think It's for, because a lot of these elements are coming in the market with new language. So for developers, it's a really, really challenging task. Like every time like a new chain element comes, they tell you to learn a new language. It
No,
happened, we have been noticing. So, so
we
yeah,
wanted to keep it very simple. I mean, Solidity is an easy language to learn, comparatively to something like a Rust, and people can learn it very quickly. If they haven't, been able to do that, we would recommend, and encourage people to, learn Solidity, because this definitely has legs. And once you build on any of the EVM chains, eventually we will have, a situation where we will be a multi-chain world. So once you build on any of the EVM platforms, you can definitely deploy and run on Shardeum.
absolutely. I think that kinds of, is really powerful in the long run. As for the developers, it's easy to build, which is really important. And all of this, other elements that are in the market, it brings a lot of friction to the community as well as the developers. It's very painful. So that's a great news for all the developers. I think if you have now deployed, like go develop and deploy contracts because you can build it on Solidity. So yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
So I'd like to
Uh,
share a fun fact.
yeah.
So we launched our project in 2022 on the 2nd of February. And Shardium is an amalgamation of two people. One is Nishchal Shetty, who basically, is the co-founder at WazirX, and Umar Sayed, who's based in Dallas, Texas. So Umar had been writing, the underlying layer Shardus for a while, since 2017, and we were doing a demo in October of 2021, and I had sent an email to Nishal to attend the demo, and he actually showed up and attended that. And a week later, we get a call that he wants to talk to us and see how we could, join forces. So that's how Shardium was, born in a matter of months after the demo. But when we actually launched our BetaNet, which is on our 1 year anniversary this year, and the testnet, when it came about, we planned for about 1,500 nodes to be able to, deploy on the network. We started with 150 ourselves, and we're assuming that the community would take charge and start deploying the nodes from there. But when the network deployed, we had 1,500 in literally 24 hours. And within 7 days, we had crossed 37,000 nodes on the network,
Wow.
which
Wow.
is the highest for any layer one, at a testnet stage. What it did to us, it basically stretched our boundaries. It told us where our faults were, because we had not really prepared for that size and the scope of deployment. But it was just amazing, and the community support has just been phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal is a small word to say, but every event we are at, the number of people who come out and talk to us, and the interest level we see is just unbelievable.
Absolutely. I think big fan of your team and what you guys are doing. Yes.
And yes, the best is yet to come. So far we've done over 1 million transactions since the testnet was up and about. We're getting ready for our mainnet launch very soon. We're trying to target before the end of this year. We're focusing on that. And we've had over 110 plus projects who already tested and deployed on Shardeum. Again, these numbers are very, very large for any of the layer ones. And hopefully, when we launch our mainnet, we want to start with at least 250 projects which are deployed and live on Shardeum.
And coming to the projects, I think you guys have like grown really fast and really like amazing numbers. And I think a really solid community as well. I think even on Discord, there's a lot of people, and they keep interacting. Very solid, strong foundation. So coming to the projects, so what kind of projects that you're looking forward to build on Shardium? And so the people who are listening to this, so and what kind of projects they should, like, you are focusing that you want to attract to develop more on Shardium, or already there like building, and then in future also, like what exactly are you looking for? Yeah.
Absolutely. So the first would be, the easiest to deploy would be the projects I've already built for other EVM chains, and these could be in any segment. So ideally, Shardium, since it is a layer one which is offering high transactions per second, anything that requires that would be primary. So something like gaming would be natural fit for Shardium, And we are talking to a lot of gaming companies. We're talking to a lot of people who are actually in the phases of development of games, and a ton of them who are actually migrating from Web 2 to Web 3. So these are ideal projects who definitely can reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to help them through their journey. That's one. The second is DeFi projects who are already built and need that low cost mechanism to be able to work on a payment network, to be able to use our resources to be able to generate what they are trying to achieve. Again, your typical projects such as NFT platforms, etc. There are a lot of projects coming specifically from India, which are focused on the movie kingdom there, the Bollywood. So we're talking to a lot of them who are deploying their NFTs. That's a big space right now. There are also projects who are specialized in that sense, supply chain management. We're talking to a lot of them who are getting into this space, who are migrating from Web 2 to Web 3. That's an area which is of real interest to us. Another area is the fractionalized ownership of real estate, which is now becoming a big thing. So people are tokenizing that, they're creating NFTs, various means of doing that, and make it available to the population at large. So somebody can actually own a certain portion of a very known building across the world, right? So that is going to be a major trend we see, coming on. Also, that the reverse side of that is, mortgages being moved on to Web3. So you could actually get your mortgage assigned and, worked out very quickly through, organizations who are offering that. So there are several platforms, several projects, who would be able to deploy anything, that is being built. We would love to talk to them. We would love to support them. And we would like to, co-brand, co-market, and take them to, their road plan and help them out there.
Awesome. And in terms of, I think really from gaming to you guys are also focusing on enterprises like fractional ownership, a lot of interesting supply chain. These are like, enterprise grade problems and challenges, and a lot of companies are already trying to, become a dominant player. Like, in finance sector, there's R3 quota, which dominates the whole banking and finance segment. So I think there's a huge scope of opportunity as well. And also, like in terms of support, what kind of support the projects get when they start building on Shardium?
So the first thing what we can do is we have a technical team who can help them, understand how to deploy on Shardium. So that's the first aspect of it. But we would typically go a couple of steps behind. So I meet between 3 to 5 projects on a daily basis, and some of these are great ideas, but they're not able to monetize the ideas. The second aspect of they've come to a point where they've actually found people who are able to support them, and they've been able to come out with a whole business plan. So what I would recommend to any of these builders out there, there are two things which will make you a winner. One is there money to be made at the end of it? We all dream great dreams, but the real success story comes out when you're able to monetize that and able to create a revenue. So that is the first aspect of it. Secondly, stay away from projects which are just a me too. So if there's somebody who's built something and built successfully, that you wouldn't want to typically replicate and be able to show, unless you have a great differential. If you're able to show that yes, we are able to provide and fulfill this particular niche in the market space, I would recommend that. So if you're able to do these two things, you have a path which is bound to be successful.
Great. And understanding this really good way for the developers community to build on Shardium, and a lot of incentives there in future, considering the community, the network, and it's growing so fast. So what are the future plans that you have in terms of the technology, the community, even the ecosystem? Can you please throw some light on that?
So our focus, like I mentioned, is to onboard as many projects as possible onto Shardium. And right now, what we're providing is a lot of support at the ground level. We can sit and ideate with people. We can sit out and help them deploy. But in the very near future, we will also be offering a grant program. So for projects who are building, we would be able to support them financially as well, as long as they give us a certain level of commitment of deployment on Shardium. So that is our next step. and that will open a lot of doors for projects, who are struggling with a good idea but unable to find, the right resources. So we'll work with them at that end. And from a long term perspective, in the next 2 to 5 years, we definitely want to be an L1 of choice for people who are building. So that's our goal. That we definitely want to be seen as the top three, top five chains globally. With an initial start out of India and focus on the APAC segment, which I think is extremely large right now. Singapore, Korea, Vietnam, uh, and Japan. So we've been talking to a lot of builders out of that, and gaming is typically very huge. So between APAC and India, we probably have 70% of the world gamers, in that area. Like I said, gaming is a very interesting segment for us. So we really want to see that grow in the next, 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's really this is a really interesting fact, by the way. Like 70% of the gamers are in the APAC region, and it's a huge market. And I think that's a really solid strategy of growth and focus. And I think the real or the most dominant factor that will bring users on the whole for the whole Web3 is basically the gaming, because they come from the game, but they stick and they keep playing, and that's why they are sustainable in the long run. And when the gamers they like something, they tend to use it and do it a lot. So I think that's a really good strategy, and that will help the whole Web3 to get the actual users in the long run. And I think it's the obvious trajectory as well.
No, I think that's a very, very interesting segment, and it's bound to grow. So, because quite a few of the games are already developed, and they're looking for another, route to get to the larger audience, and Web3 will provide that both from an asset movement perspective. So, people who have assets on gaming, they very soon they'll be able to move it from one chain to the other and play games, as well as be able to monetize their efforts and exercises.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think one last question before we end this the discussion that we have. Really interesting discussion. Learned a lot of new things about Shardium as well. What are the growth plans? What is the current development, and how developers can build on the top of Shardium. So by the way, this is Yash here, co-founder and CEO of Acknowledger, and we do this podcast every Wednesday, 3:30 p.m. UTC, and we have been doing consistently for like last 6 months. We have taken the pledge to do this for the whole year, to connect with the community, directly answer their questions, and understand and bring experts, learn from them what's happening in the ecosystem. So this has been what we have been doing at Acknowledger, and fortunately we have been doing it consistently. And today we have Shardium team to talk about the development of the Shardium. So thanks a lot, Shehzad, for coming today and really giving us your valuable time. And before we end this session, I want to ask, one anything that you want to share with the community, any those thoughts, or for any words that you want to share with the whole community, please feel free to go ahead. Yes.
Sure. So we're seeing a lot of changes in the crypto world, and since crypto is the biggest use case for blockchain, there has been a big question mark in the last couple of months. But this all these gray clouds will pass. I mean, we are very, very positive that we will have sunshine soon, and the path after the regulation, then everything comes about, will make us a lot stronger. So just hang on, keep building. Have faith. Uh, this will pass. It's all a matter of time. And talk to us. We're going to be there at most of the major events globally. So whether it is ETH Paris or the ETH India is again a very big platform for us. 2049 in Singapore. So our team would be there. Reach out to us, shoot out an email, check our website, and let's keep a conversation and let's get going. So.
Absolutely, yes. I think we will be also there in Token 2049. So we'll again bump into each other, hopefully. Yes.
Looking
Uh,
forward to that.
so, yes, yes, absolutely. And thanks a lot. I think totally agree. And thanks for the amazing words, Shahzad. That I think it's just a matter of time. It will happen. right now, I think the market is already looking really positive. We have already seen the worst days, I think, hopefully. And I think with Bitcoin ETF and other really amazing stuff happening around the ecosystem,
Right.
I think since last 2 years, I've been very bored, honestly. And now with this Bitcoin, BRC20, and the new, the market cycle, something new is coming up. So it's really, really exciting, and really excited. I'm really excited to see what comes next. And because this ecosystem, it has one really unique characteristic that, every 2 3 months there's something new comes up, and that you have to learn like a student every time. There's something new that you have to learn and keep yourself updated. That's a really, really interesting thing. And thanks a lot again, Shahzad and the whole Shardium team for coming on our podcast and sharing about Shardium. Thanks a lot. And on this note, I will end this. Keep building, keep hustling, and we are all going to make it. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you very much, Yash, and thank you, Abhishek. Appreciate your time.
Yes.